Mom has an allergic reaction and was taken to the emergency room. The doctors said they were going to intubate her and she was going to be just fine. Within hours, she was in a coma, never to awaken again, dying when all her organs shut down. Come join me as I discuss what the doctors did to cause this bad care. I'm Yao Dinizulu, an emergency room medical malpractice attorney in Chicago, Illinois. The client went to an emergency room hospital suffering from an allergic reaction to seafood. She was immediately seen by the emergency room physician. Upon evaluation using the ABCs of medicine, which is to protect the airway, breathing, and circulation, they first addressed the life-threatening airway problems and assessed and treated those. If you have no airway, death is inevitable. Using this approach, the emergency room physician decided the airway needed to be protected in case the swelling increased, losing her airway. He properly chose to do an intubation with an endotracheal tube or an ET tube to establish the airway. The physician placed the ET tube, establishing the airway. However, there was just one complication. The ET tube was faced too far down in the right mainstem bronchus or the right lung. All air was going into the right lung and none was going into the left lung. As a result of not receiving any air, the left lung collapsed. The proper position of the ET tube is in the trachea above the carina, which is just above where the lungs split. It's not a breach of the standard of care for it to go too far down into the right mainstem bronchus. It is a breach of the standard of care if you do not make the adjustment to ensure that it's properly placed. It was partially moved initially by the physician by 1 or 2 centimeters. However, when they took an x-ray again, he saw that there was starting to be oxygenation in the left lung, but it wasn't a total clearing. So it needed to be moved back some more. However, the doctor chose to make a different decision. The decision he chose to make was to send her to a CT room. What were the reasons why he shouldn't have sent her to the CT room? The reasons why he shouldn't have sent him to the CT room is because he could take another x-ray to identify where the ET tube was, number one. Number two, in the transport from the emergency room to the CT room, the patient could be jostled and the ET tube could be lost. Her airway could be lost, and that's not a good option. Third, they failed to properly sedate the patient. The other concern is in order to put her into a CT scan, they would have to take the restraints off of an intubated patient. And in addition, they ordered contrast dye. Now, the treating physician in this case testified that it was against industry recommendation and likely to cause this patient a further allergic reaction to give a contrast dye. There was no visual benefits in determining the cause of the collapse of the lung by giving the contrast dye. So even if they went to the CT scan, contrast dye was contraindicated. We also learned that they undersedated the patient. Well, what does that mean? What it means is that they did not give enough medication to stop her from waking up should she be jostled too much. In addition, there was no anti-vomiting medication given to her. Because she was being jostled and because she was going to the CT scan, that was also necessary. So what happened? Well, she was sent to the CT scan. After receiving the contrast dye, she woke up and began vomiting. Unrestrained, she began pulling off the tube. She lost her airway, never to have it restored. The scene in the CT room was chaotic, as testified by nurses and doctors alike, all for an unnecessary CT scan. After surgically outlining the entire bad care given to the mom, the case was settled confidentially for 7 figures, allowing the son to finally get his mother the headstone that she deserved. If you have questions about an emergency room malpractice case, feel free to give us a call at the number below. We handle these types of cases all the time and would be happy to speak with you. I'm Yao Dinizulu, an emergency room malpractice attorney in Chicago, Illinois. Thank you for joining us.